Righty-ho, let's get this final underway. We've got two players rearing to go. We've got a whole audience rearing to go. Two of the very finest from the North Island duking it out here for a chance to become the 2022 8-Ball Superleague Nationals champion, and dare I say it, for one big leap to become the representative for New Zealand and the team to play Australia in the Trans-Tasman series in about 2 and a bit months' time. So obviously this game means more to them to win it for them to become the champion for this year at the moment. So Desi Wilcox having to go through, first of all, Dean Garnett in the quarterfinal, beat Dean, I believe, 8-3 in that match, and then beating Steve Denton in the semi-final 8 frames to 5. Baden Jackson having to go through Adam Lilly 8 frames to 4 in the quarters, and then 8-7 over Simon in the semis. In fact, that loss for Simon is the first time he's ever lost in the Superleague Nationals since 2017, when Baden Jackson beat him in that tournament. So it's quite amazing. He's a 4-time-in-a-row champion leading up to this. That loss against Baden, the first time he'd ever lost in 5 years in this tournament. But that goes to show you what a stranglehold Simon has had on this competition. So Baden Jackson turning a lot of history on its head with that win. I believe we've got a short announcement for the players for the actual final.
Well, that's just in the local area. The millions from England that are watching. No, anyway, we'll get underway. Look, we just introduced the 2 finalists. A big hand. Coming out first, Des Wilcox. And his opponent, Baden Jackson.
Come on, the South. Oh, shit.
And I'm back to you.
Awesome, thank you, Paul. So the players will lag as is customary for the break. Des on the left hitting the red, Baden on the right hitting the yellow. And it will be Des to break. So much has been said about this tournament. Much has been written about this tournament. We have played so many matches to get to this point in this tournament. There's only one to go, it's this game right here. The final. Michael Hayes has kindly taken a spot next to me to be my co-pilot for this match.
All right, thanks for the intro, John. Fantastic to be here. Pumped up for this final. It's been a cracking few days of play. I know, just looking at the quarterfinal draw this morning, he's literally thinking any of those 8 boys could have won it, but there could only be 2 here in this final. Des Wilcox and Baden Jackson, so can't wait to see how this match goes.
We're looking at the paths that these two have taken to get here, and arguably you would have to say that Baden's had the harder route. Well, not arguably, it's true. He's had the harder route to get here, and Des has had the benefit, well mind you, I'd say benefit, but he's earned that himself, of finishing his matches earlier and having more time to recuperate in between games, whereas Baden was later to finish his quarter-final match, and obviously with an 8-7 win was later to finish his semi-final match. So the decision was made to give the players half an hour between the conclusion of the last semi-final and the final to do whatever they need to do to prepare for this game, which was a great decision on behalf of the people running this tournament, who have done an amazing job throughout. I'd say Baden would be feeling better off that was true, because he would have been absolutely spent after his game against Simon, whereas Des comparatively would have been nice and fresh, but gets both players onto more of an even keel, so to speak. Des just 2 balls away from making this first frame his, Mike, so early going so far.
Yeah, great start for Des, and I mean, it's just been the hallmark of his performances in this tournament, hasn't it? He's just been, a lot of his matches, he's been making quick starts, running racks early, and picking straight back up where he's left off. And the fact that these boys played earlier in this tournament and Des got the win, he went 5-0 up with I think 4 consecutive clearances. He'll have a lot of confidence coming into this. So first frame on the board for Des, perfect start.
Break and run too, even better. Break and dish, break and dish, break and dish.
That's what the people want to see.
Indeed it is. So let's see if Baden can hit back with one of his own here. He was by far the better breaker in his game against Simon, and he was also shading Adam on that stat in their match earlier on. So that's a part of his game that's been working brilliantly for him. In fact, his whole game has been incredibly good from go to woe, and Des's has been too. So be those little 1 and 2 percenters that separate them. Yellows, no. I think that might have gone dry, Mike.
It looks dry to me, so another chance for Des to get to work. Not the greatest starters though, you know. Looks like he's probably going to have to take reds. Or can he? Oh no, he can shoot that yellow up the sort of top left of the screen, can't he? So
yeah.
In which case, I suspect that will be where he picks things off. I think the yellows look a bit better, just on account of this bottom corner here.
Agreed. Just over and all, yeah, they're the better set to take. So those 3 clustered by that corner pocket aren't a problem, I don't think.
No, I think.
Oh, this helps as well.
Yeah. I think they'll just plant the 2 that are touching at the right weight. So I think the one, you know, a little bit of trickiness on the yellows is, you know, the one on the left close to the red, near the middle. Also this yellow close to the black. They just need good positional shots, but those balls are on. So
it's gone a bit far for that, but I think do you see that plant perhaps, and if it's on off the draw, he might just sort of plant it in, just like this.
I think that's exactly that. You want to get that plant out of the way early. You can probably now take that ball to the middle.
Maybe he might just play a stop shot on the one in the corner too. Top left corner I'm looking at for the yellow that's just to the right of the one you were mentioning.
Yeah. No, not a bad shout. For me, I'm really curious to see how he's going to position himself on the yellow underneath the black.
Oh, that's hard to force into those middles though, isn't it?
And to be fair, I think he's just hit that a wee bit hard. I think he could have actually, you know, because he didn't draw it back that much, I think he could have played that a little bit softer with a bit more spin to get the same result and not compromise the pot. But I'm sure there's just a bit of adrenaline pumping right now, and can find its way into the stroke and the shot every now and then.
Well, Des has been hitting his hard shots nicely all day as well, so that's been working for him very well. But obviously with tight pockets like that or tight angles like that, it is risk reward, and on occasion it won't work. This is the first shot that Baden's actually had that hasn't been the break for the whole game. I know it's quite early, but this is so important to make this one count. Stamp himself on this match early and make Des think, well, hold up, you're not the only person here.
No, absolutely. We touched on that earlier, you know, just in any match, it's just, you want to get your hand on the table, you want to get some balls in the pocket, and you want to get a frame on the board. It's just once you can do those few basic things, you feel like you're in the match, and the confidence sort of flows on from there. So a little bit of I wonder if has he got the angle here to run through and develop that red. It looks promising.
Yep.
Oh, that's lovely.
Beautiful, and he's just kicked it enough to make it on. Didn't overhit that, he kicked it just enough, that's all it needed. I just wonder now, does he take the one into the middle and follow through for the one on the rail?
That's the shot for me, I think, John. And because once you get those two, you know, as long as he gets straight on that second red, everything opens up from there.
Yeah, well, he's got about the width of his hand to land in, I reckon, for the position on that red down the rail.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get better at picking shots in this format too. I know that obviously with Simon on, he's got a different way of looking at the game, and with you, oh hello, wow. He's taken it for granted.
That's surprising.
And I know with you, I mean, you kind of set similarly to me, so it's interesting doing commentary with different people, because I mean, you've got your promoter's hat on, you've got your player's hat on, you see the game so much differently to me, you see the game differently to Simon, so...
Oh, and that's the beauty of the game, and in these rules there's a lot more different ways to go about it, you know, like I guess if you were commentating a game like 9-ball, often perhaps the patterns when there's only one ball you can go to next, it's a bit easier or a bit more consistent to call, but that is the beauty of this game, is that there are many different ways you can go about it, so it's always interesting.
I'm hopeless at calling 9-ball. Well, I don't think I'm that great anyway. I thought I was... Those money matches last year, I thought I was rubbish, to be fair, but anyway, it's by the by. This game, obviously, I'm a lot find it easier because I know the rules better and I know the play a little bit better. I don't know
about this shot here. Is it just going to be screwing straight back for the black, I think?
Yeah.
Draw it back towards the centre of the table. Nicely done. The main thing there was he just maintained the angle to keep the cue ball off the rail. The last thing you want to be doing on these shots is curling off the rail. So nicely done from Des. One of those simple shots, what it looks like, but you can get it wrong quite easily. So great start for Des. Takes a 2-0 lead.
He's off those half ball cuts, hasn't he? He's played a good number of them all game, and they must be the kind of shot that is a bit easier with the... I think it must be an easier shot with the smaller cue ball, I reckon. I do see a lot more of those shots being played with a smaller cue ball as opposed to the regular 2-inch for those half ball cuts. Cue ball not.
Alright, nice break here. He's got a ball in, he's in the centre of the table, he's got options. What are we thinking? Reds or yellows?
Probably reds, to be fair. Partially because you've got one that blocks the black. So there's your first tick. The second tick is the ones that are only half on are still on somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you've got that little pocket of 2 reds and a yellow and a triangle in the middle, and I think those reds are going to be just a little bit easier to manipulate, but he's just taken his eye off the pot.
He did kind of what Baden did earlier in the second frame, didn't he? It's almost like he took it for granted. And you've still got to stroke it in nicely, Des. You can't just hit it and know it's going in. I like how Baden's actually taking his time over this shot. He's not so much shell shot, but wants to give himself just a chance to get a look in. So he's just taking his time, having a look at what's there and formulating a plan to try and get himself back into the right headspace.
Big thanks to Daryl Chambers, just supplying the commentary crew with fresh beverages. I guess he does an alright job with all the tables and set up stuff as well, but it's the drink supplies that's at the forefront of my mind right now.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated, don't you?
Oh, exactly. You know, we're looking for peak commentary performance.
Oh dear. That could be a bad miss for Baden. I tell you what, this angle, assuming that yellow's on in bulk on the right, that could very well be the angle to split the other yellow away. I reckon this is on, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering if we can just... Yeah, nicely done. I did wonder if the yellow that he's just contacted, I think it would have been on into that corner, but I just don't think he could hold for it from that angle. So I tried to develop it, and you're always playing for a little bit of luck in those sort of shots, and unfortunately just hasn't quite got the break on that one. So it's going to be interesting to see if he just looks for a containing safety here, I suspect.
Tucking behind it, maybe.
Yeah, that was my thoughts as well, as if he can kind of just glance the rail side of that yellow sort of into the rail, nestle back on the yellow, maybe.
I'd even look to try and thin this and leave the cue ball way down this close end of the table.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad shot. If he can catch it really skinny, he could run down to the back of those yellows.
Oh, that's not great.
Interesting. I wonder, do you think he was trying to catch the gap between that small gap between those balls and run down to this bottom corner? I mean, that's it was a small gap he was playing for, if that's what he was looking at.
No, I just don't think he hit it fine enough. He just didn't. Yeah, he wasn't happy with the way he cued there. It only just went in, so he's just trying to tell himself, get tighter, middle of the pocket.
It can be like that at the start of a final, you know. It's when you're chilling out and just watching, you kind of forget some of those sort of things. But there's a lot at stake out here, and it can sometimes take a frame or two just to really settle into the match. And that one's wiped its feet, but it's still in, and he's still shooting. So, you know, we'd all love to be in full flow and clinical all the time, but we know that's not how it goes. So at this point, it's just about getting the job done.
You've asked a good question there, Kirk. You want to expand on that, Mikey?
Yeah, we are still finalising all the details, but we're looking at running, I'm pretty sure, a 30-second shot clock. So we're going to look to largely mirror the format they're doing in the Pockets Pro Series, and I can't remember off the top of my head if they're playing a 30 or 40-second shot clock, but yeah, that's what we're looking to go with.
Someone told me that the Australians play to a 30 plus 10 shot clock, so you get 30 seconds and then you get call of 10 seconds. So
I don't. So I know in the Pro Series they've got the full timer on the screen in the arena. So there's not like a 30 plus 10 in that, but what you do have is one extension per frame. So it will be around about a 30 or 40 second shot clock, and the players will have one extension available per frame. Yeah,
that wiped its feet too.
It's always when you've got it jacked up and bridging over that ball. You ideally wouldn't want to be doing that playing the black, but no, he's stayed down solid on it and got the job done. So I'm sure that will settle Baden's nerves, getting that frame on the board. He's in the game now.
Yeah, no matter how you get it though, you do feel that much better about yourself, don't you? He might be saying to himself, I've got to stay strong on it, because some of those that rattled and went in might not do that for me later on. So just tightening it up slightly, but as you said, frame on the board, that's what matters the most.
Oh, he's dumped the cue ball straight to the middle, so a little bit quick on that break maybe. I don't know if he normally takes his break with just a couple of feathers, but you've got to be really precise, because the second that cue ball goes down and you're giving your opponent a free shot with an open table, you're asking for trouble. So great opportunity for Des here. big spread, no clusters, and he's got the free shot to develop anything he needs to. And perhaps do you clear that red from the pocket and go yellows?
Absolutely. Because you can't claim reds as a set, so you might as well pot it to get rid of it and then claim yellows with your next set. This is the other thing he's looking at.
Killing the yellow and going reds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, wasn't it, as far as sets go? So you might as well use that free shot to kill a ball. So good choice there from Des.
Yeah. So that's the insurance policy. So just gives him a little bit more security that, hey, if he gets out of shape and doesn't fancy the clearance anymore, it's just made it a little bit tougher for his opponent. Played that nicely with the rest. I know it's a simple looking shot, but I always think any time you're using the rest, we don't see it much on these pool tables, so it's not always a given that you're going to be inch perfect with your cue ball.
Well, you're not cueing on your bridge, are you? So it's a different feel with the cue running through the actual wrist as opposed to your hand.
That's a positive shot. Really committed to going the extra rail. I know there was a couple of the other matches we've called where we've seen people sort of, they're playing into one rail and the cue ball's drifting towards that second rail, and rather than committing and making sure they catch the extra rail, they get a bit tentative and basically find themselves cueing off a rail. So nice positive shot from Des there.
Do you reckon he might have used a little bit of inside English to check it up, or did that naturally check up with the weight that he played it at?
Yeah, it was hard to tell. I didn't see a lot of side. I think a little bit of inside English would have taken the pace off the cue ball. I suspect the pace with which it hit the rail would have caused it to square up a little bit, would be my guess.
Yeah. Just a few stats that Alex has come up with, which are very much worth sharing.
Love a good stat. Excellent.
Des Wilcox, if he wins this game, will be the very first Kiwi-born player to win the Superleague Nationals. Every other player who has won this has been English.
Come on, Des. No bias in here.
And he is the third Kiwi to make the final. Jimmy Henry in 2014 against Adam Marlowe and Kerry Wirtz. I can't remember which year that was, but that was relatively recently, I think.
Sure wasn't Healy White in the final against Simon Singleton last year?
I was going to say, I reckon he's got that wrong, Alex. I need to pull him up for that. So Des will be the fourth Kiwi then. And as I said before, that loss that Simon had against Baden in the semis here was the first time he's lost in this tournament since 2017. Also, as far as tournaments this year goes, Des the quarter-finalist in this year's Super League North Islands, and Baden of course won the whole thing.
So just cutting off John from the stat attack for a sec, as we've got Des here primed to take the frame. Nicely played shot. Again, he's just, I love how positive he's striking the balls, really hitting them with authority, and great chance to nail the black in the middle for a 3-1 lead. Too easy.
Well done. He's playing with authority, isn't he?
That's it. It's just hits the ball with conviction. It's great to see.
You were right to cut me off there, by the way. I was starting to get carried away.
I just wanted to make sure we acknowledged Des's good week finish there.
Definitely.
So I think you had one. There's one more stat in the books here. What was that one?
First Super League Nationals that was played 2014, if you remember, at the Woolston Club, where you could get up on the mezzanine floor and look down on all the tables. It wasn't streamed, unfortunately, but in the very first tournament, Baden beat Des 13-0. So they were doing long races back then. 13-0. Obviously, Des still very new to the format back then, and Baden had played it in the UK. That was two-shot rules back then.
I'll tell you what, John, I'm going to absolutely go check in on Alex on his stats, where he's getting them from, because I could have sworn in the first Super League Nationals that Baden played Healy in the first round and that Healy beat Baden. Baden was the top seed.
I thought so too.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go. We'll tell Alex to brush up on his stats. But hey, we're hitting you with stats anyway. Some of them are correct. Some of them are made up. They're stats nonetheless. Enjoy them.
and go and check them in case you think we're wrong. And Alex Stones is a pretty good statistician though, he absolutely loves them.
Maybe we need to fact check him more often.
Oh hell no, it's a dry break again. Would you believe it? He's hit that like an absolute dream, but nothing's gone down.
No, not this time. So I'm sure Baden won't be complaining.
Oh hell no.
So great chance for him to return set
Yellows,
again.
you reckon?
Yeah, I think so, and purely probably just that got that red on the left side of the table. Though I look at it a little bit close to the middle, close to the rail, not fantastic. The yellows a little bit more workable. I think if I'm going yellows, and well, we're not, so we don't need to worry about them. If I was going yellows, I was looking at those two on the left bottom corner of the screen and thinking you need to clear the one closest to the pocket first for the other one to pass. But he obviously likes the position of one of the reds to develop the other red.
Want to be tight to that rail, which he has
got
done.
the angle here, so obviously fancied this one.
He fancies anything not tied down, does Baden, so look out for that red right left of your screen. Watch it go.
Oh, I played that with such control as well. You know, the temptation is always to get into those and really make sure you develop them, but so often just a really controlled, gentle little kick and prod in the right direction is what those shots need, and yeah, that was executed really nice.
So it should pass into the middle. Does this other one pass into the middle? I would say just because of the fact that he was walking straight towards it that it does.
Must just sneak in. So I think that the only real thing here is we've got this red on the bottom rail at the top of the screen. So as long as he can fit that into the works, we're good.
Are you willing to endorse that product, Sheldon? I hope you guys all read that. That was funny.
Love. That's a great comment, Sheldon. I'm not bad. I love that movie. 50% of the time, it works every time.
57.9% of statistics are made up on the spot.
So all about the angle he wants on that ball on the bottom rail. I suspect he'll just look for a very short little screw back, just a couple of inches. Oh no. What am I even calling? These guys are making a mockery of my commentary at the moment.
That's a bit straight. That's a wee bit straight.
Well, I was going to suggest he just screwed it back about a cue ball or two and left himself a sort of half ball fine cut into that corner, and the cue ball would have been running straight down the centre of the table. But there was always more than one way to go about it, and that does enough.
That's a great shot from there. He didn't overplay his hand. This for 3-2 to get within a frame. Get out of there, you mongrel!
You are kidding. Unbelievable.
Lost a frame too because he potted the black, so there's 4-1 up.
I was just about to give Baden a good compliment of something that I spotted him doing well in several matches in this tournament, which is knowing when to sort of force the issue to get the perfect posi and when to sort of take his medicine and just guarantee himself a look at the ball. And he just sort of, on his last two balls he did that there, he sort of just made sure he definitely got himself on that last red, didn't try and force it too much to get too close to the black, just guaranteed himself a look at it, hit the black great, but just lost the cue ball. He'll be spewing. That's a huge frame. I mean, one of those 2 frame swings again. He's 3 frames behind instead of 1, and I tell you what, that's in situations like this, that's a tough one to let go of and move along from. Very tough.
I don't think Baden would want to hear about that right now, I suspect, Lee. I'm on the spectrum. I can put my hand up to that one, Terry. Professionally diagnosed and everything, but yeah, Weil was about right, because I don't think either of us were expecting that. It's almost like I can't even give you a reason why he did that, to be fair. That's how dumbfounded I am. Just didn't maybe think it was going to do that.
It just kept rolling. Like, I mean, stunning that ball in, punching that ball in is the way to play that shot. It's a good positive stroke. It ensures your accuracy, and he's done that great. And it's just he probably just wasn't expecting the cue ball to release that far. Maybe he caught it slightly thin into the left half of the pocket. You know, sometimes the difference between hitting the heart of the pocket and hitting the edge of the pocket can actually make a big impact on the distance and the line the cue ball travels, and it could be something as simple as that he's just hit the side of the pocket rather than the centre. But really unexpected mistake. We did not see that one coming.
Yeah, and that's what happens with general positional shots too, is that you cue for a certain line and the line throws off ever so slightly because you don't make the middle of the pocket.
I think Des might have overscrewed that slightly. I think he would have wanted to be a fraction shorter, but do you think he's going to take that one into the top right corner of the screen, open those two up?
Yeah, I think he... It's awkward cueing no matter where he goes, but I actually think that's the positive shot, and he's definitely a positive player. I wouldn't put it past him to have a go at this.
100%. I mean, those two right there are the problem balls, and this should get a nice little kiss on the red next to it. He just needs to run through a smidgen and leave that next one on. Oh, so he's gone the other way.
It's ended up married up to the yellow. There's a bit of interracial marriage there.
It was just a wee bit of a jabby stroke, wasn't it? And I know sometimes when the object ball's quite close to the cue ball, it's just hard to get a nice positive cue through the ball, and it just looked like he just jabbed at that one a little bit and missed the pot by some way in the end.
It's not easy to get a full cue in it though, is it? Because you're always wary of the cue ball contacting the cue a second time. I think that's very deliberate, by the way. You didn't want that in at all. Right over the bin to get some control of the frame. Good shot, Baden.
And sometimes, you know, while I don't think you should be changing your approach drastically during matches, sometimes you just do need to try and change the momentum a wee bit. The frames have been relatively open so far, and Des has been getting the lead in them. So Baden can even just slow things down for a frame. Just kind of, you know, make Des think and work a little bit harder. Just takes the wind out of the sails a wee bit. So
yeah, if you don't like the status quo, change it. You're a tree. You're not a tree. You can move. Two of the best pieces of advice I've been given. That's a great shot, but he's a bit unlucky.
Yeah, definitely unlucky on that one. If it only needed a bit more gap between the cue ball and the yellow, and he would have been able to cut it across the table, but yeah, unfortunately that red is still blocking it, although I suspect from the correct position he might be able to go rail first inside that red into that corner still, so he will have to come back for it if he wants that though.
Swap the two of them around, Mike, you mean?
Might have
just, I think it still does, but it's just difficult to cue from here and get back around for it.
It's going to be a big shot here for sure. Got a big pocket here though.
Used it nicely.
Nicely done.
Yellow inside yellow, you think?
I think so, and it's the reason I like that too, because it's got a natural angle to send the cue ball back up the other end of the table for that other one, but Sophie's just got enough pocket to shoot at with that first yellow that it's not going to wedge in there with the other one. Well, he does seem to be looking at the yellow above the black spot.
Maybe that's because it looks like it'll naturally kick the red towards the yellow that's over the pocket for a bit more safety, maybe. Doesn't want to get too cute with this though and think too much about where that red's going.
Does have to be cautious though, and I'm sure he's aware that he's 4-1 down and the reds are all on here. The black would be tricky, but just have to be a wee bit careful. So is he going for this one now?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant shot. That could be a frame-winning shot, that.
That's better than that dropping, really. The only thing, with the red still in close proximity, it does mean that for Baden to make his finish, he is going to have to work around it on his subsequent visits, but he's got security in the upper hand in the frame now from that shot, so exactly what he needed after that last frame in the current scoreline.
I just wonder what Des is looking at here. He's pointing his cue down the table. Maybe he's looking for a double here. Oh no, he's going to try and wedge that in here.
To cover that other yellow, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. I didn't see that option. It was
Baden tapped the table too. You know when he does that it's a good shot. I reckon he can wedge that. You see where his cue is? I reckon that wedge is in there.
absolutely, whether it drops or not, 50-50. But the thing Des has done here well is he's he's making sure that Baden's chances are not going to be straightforward.
He's made him think again, hasn't he? He didn't have to think as much before. Now he definitely does.
I guess the option Baden still does have if he wants to keep things tight is that yellow that's sort of over that bottom right pocket. He could just nudge that a little bit further into the pocket so that it covers that red as well, and then that just buys him a little bit more time and security. But I wonder if he's going to go for that or if he's going to play the yellow above the black spot down to the bottom left corner.
I reckon he might do, but looks like he's not going to. But if he was going to do that, then he'd probably play it pocket weight.
He could go for the finish here as well.
Yeah.
If he's confident he can make that yellow off the inside of the red. Oh, he's not hit that well.
He's at least given that yellow a much better chance though. He's obviously got to pot a difficult one to get there, but he's actually given it a definitive roll to the hole. So this is his shot making ability coming in here. Does he have one of these up his sleeve?
I mean, what are you going? You're going to have to cut it in one of the middle pockets here, aren't you?
He's already made a really fine cut to win a frame, so why not?
I think at least I feel like either way won't quite be enough. So if he can pick the line and just drop it in the middle pocket way, I feel like the cue will run around the angles and land all right.
But he's just got to trust his potting ability here, I think. I don't think he needs to worry too much about the cue ball because where it goes, it goes. He just needs to pot it. Don't think it goes in the corner either. That was the other pocket I was looking at, top right. Doesn't go in there, so it has to be the middle.
Quite.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, it nearly worked as well.
Lucky. He only had to catch that a fraction fuller, and that would have ended up inside that red. But unfortunately, he's left them all on, and Des will be fancying himself here. I think the only little bit of a problem for Des might be the red closest to the black spot. It's covered to a couple of pockets, and that the yellow being where it is makes it a little bit tricky to get onto that red in the most obvious corner. So I'll be curious to see at what point he decides to get on that red and where he wants it.
I think he gets onto it from the one near the middle pocket. I think that's the one there. He wants to leave that one covering the black. Ideally until last, you would think, unless he can get a good shot at it.
Well, that's it. Like he could play this one to the middle now and just screw back a few inches and then just take a half ball cut on that red we're talking about earlier. But
okay, so he's given himself a chance on both reds here with the slight angle. He could just screw off possibly and maybe get a nudge on something, or he can possibly run through and go between the rail and the black and be on the red bottom right.
Is he going to try and stun screw over to the left side? Oh, he's played into the yellow. That's a great shot. He's made that look easier than it is, because if he catches that yellow a little bit thin either side, that cue ball can run into very different positions. But the fact he's managed to hit it full ball has killed that cue ball perfectly, and just given him a couple of options on how he can go about the finish from here. So top shot from Des there, nicely played.
Beautiful off the side rail as well. He's controlled that weight beautifully, because you over cue that, you're behind the black, but perfect to go back around the black.
Yeah, nicely done. And Des looking clinical when he gets his opportunities. He's getting the open table and a chance to clear. He's capitalising most times.
Yeah, well done, well finished.
Again, 5-1 lead to Des, so looking like a repeat of the start to the earlier match with Des racing out to a commanding lead. Baden's going to have to find something here to turn this match around, because it's just not happening for him at the moment quite, is it? He's not far off, but you can see it's just not quite coming together.
Yeah, little 2%ers, isn't it? Both of these players very, very capable, but Baden just not getting the rubs or just getting wrong positions, and it's not quite working for him, and so often that switches around and it happens to Des, but on this occasion Des has done a brilliant job of taking the opportunities that have come his way through those. That's a fantastic break as well.
Good break, one of each.
Yellows, I think, through necessity more than anything, I'd say here.
I think I do prefer the yellows, although those three right down the bottom end of the table, sort of at the top of the screen by the D, they could be in each other's way a wee bit, so he'll need a good shot to get in the right spot down there for those, but I still think that's better than the reds, with these two reds beside the black. I think those are kind of harder to deal with, so it's going to be all about getting himself down into a nice position on those bottom three yellows.
Very much agreed. Maybe off this shot perhaps. Although, to be fair, you'd want to get rid of this one near the middle early as well, because that's hard to get onto.
Forced to take these two now. It's just going to be, how's he going to get from that ball in the middle down to those three? Because I'm not sure if the sort of furthest one out from the rail will actually pass into the corner. So,
alternatively, he could try to go into those three off this one.
But like we say, it just would have been a difficult yellow to get back down for later. So that looks pretty straight, doesn't it?
Looks almost dead straight to me.
He needs an end, because if that's dead straight, his only option is ripping this backwards and trying to get around the table that way. Maybe he was thinking if he could run through slightly, it looks like there might be a gap between the two yellows to play that yellow closest to the corner, but this would take a really precise cue ball, and he must have the angle to run through a bit, does he?
Or he can make it. He's tried to make it and he's ended up hitting the jaw. We forgot about that, Stefan, actually. You remember that? Friday seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what 2 days can do. I reckon if you just flick the yellow that's closest to the cue ball here, the one on the right,
glance that real fine to pop the next one.
That's
interesting. I feel like he would have wanted that cue ball to roll a little bit further sit on that bottom rail, but he's just caught it a little bit full and hasn't covered it. So tricky starter for Baden, but if he can make it, the rest of the reds will open up.
This is again backing his shot-making abilities.
Or does he look for the snooker here, because there's plenty of zones he could run the cue ball in to kind of keep things tight, but at the same time, he's going to have to start making some shots and some finishes to get himself back. So he's played it two-way by the looks. I think he's managed to cover the easy yellow that was onto the corner, but I'm wondering, it looks like, he can see the edge of that yellow, and I feel the one that Des is looking at, that he can either plant that or he can possibly even cut it between them into the corner. So,
well, either shot's on, he's just got to pick a shot that he likes.
At least, while the plant you'd normally think is quite low percentage, it looks like the other yellow over the bag is close enough to make it a big pocket, so it looks like that's going to be the option.
Oh, get in there. Come on.
To be fair, he might be happy that's not dropped with where the cue ball stopped.
Yeah, true that.
Although, chance for Baden here. Couple of rail balls on either side of the table could pose a little bit of problem, but at this stage of the tournament, you back yourself to get on and make those balls, don't you?
You do, and definitely. And Baden's gotten this opportunity due to that percentage shot that he played just before, not potting the ball but cutting off the easy one and forcing Des to go for the one that was missable. And even though Des has cued brilliantly all day, he's still human, so he's still a chance to miss balls, and Baden's then called his humanity into question here. Come across, just More centre of the table than anything. There you go. Wants an angle here, over anything I would say. He's managed to, I think he's got one. He could take the one closer to the bulk line, but he looks like he's going to take the straight one first, because that gives him a good angle to get back to bulk and just off angle for that red in bulk.
Yep, nicely done, perfect angle. Play this with a trace of left, and the cue ball should just run back up down the middle of the table, anywhere around the centre.
Woo.
A little bit
That's
hard,
alright.
but no problems at all.
I think he thought for a moment he'd overcued it as well, but it's parked up nicely. This time he's okay on the cue ball, so 5-2 now to Des Wilcox.
That'll be a relief for Baden, because I tell you what, that last yellow that Des played was a fraction away from dropping, and if that yellow dropped, I reckon he takes out that frame, and a 6-1 lead in a race to 8 would have been very difficult to cope with mentally, whereas 5-2, it's a 3-frame deficit, you can work with that a bit better, I think.
Well, I think Des would have been snooker now if that had potted. It wouldn't have been too much difference between where the cue ball ended up on the shot and where the cue ball would have ended up.
I forgot that, you did right.
Still take your point though, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a great break, by the way. That's exactly what you need after you've just won a frame.
I don't think you'd be touching the yellows with a 10-foot pole after that break. It's going to be reds all day.
Nah, hell no. Jack up over this one and just screw back ever so slightly.
I feel like he'll probably screw it back almost more towards the black spot. If he can sort of land in the middle of those other 3 reds, he'd find himself in a pretty good zone. He might be tempted to take the red that's over near that cluster of 4 yellows. That red over there has potential to be problematic, so if you've got a good look at it now.
Good call, Mike. And you see how that kind of rolled almost in an arc towards the corner pocket left?
He's definitely finished a lot lower than he would have liked. He would have been expecting to finish a little bit higher there, and the obvious red to take here is the one there, that he's nearest to, towards the bottom right corner. But the cue ball, it's going to be drifting into trouble with those yellows. So he's got something to think about here now. What looked like a good option at first is.
I don't know what happened there, Mike. I thought that was running straighter than it was.
Yeah, off the bat, I thought he'd hit it pretty good as well. He's just definitely finished a lot lower than I thought it was going to as well. So it looks like he's going to chance it. And to be fair, if he plays the pace right and gets the right contact on that yellow, the cue ball will still come out and leave him that red to the middle. So I think he's just got to play this nice and positive. That's a really good shot.
Yeah, no, that's worked out beautifully for him.
Hopefully he can float this in and hold the cue ball.
I don't think so. I reckon he comes off the bulk rail and back. I think that's the only way he does this. I think this is not straight enough for it.
Tricky one going up and down. Anytime you've got to run through with a small cue ball, it's always a tough shot. But it might be his only option.
Maybe with a tiny trace of left, you think? Or does that left take it into the yellow too much?
It's a tricky one, because the harder you hit it, the wider it runs. He might be just tending to go the long one first. I think might make more sense now. Take the longer red to the corner and little stun draw and leave the next red. So tougher pot now, but takes the pressure off the finish. Yeah,
that's perfect. He's hit that so well, because it's difficult to refocus when you're focused on one red and you have to play another one. You really have to step back and have a good look at the second one.
Yeah.
You know you don't want to play it, but you have to. And Baden's done a brilliant job of rerouting that for that frame.
Yeah, always important to reset when if you get out of posse, the plan's got to change. You've got to stop, reset, start again. And Baden will be feeling a lot better now. He was on the cusp of finding himself 6-1 down only a couple of minutes ago, and now he's looking a lot better. He's
made everything work for himself the last couple of frames. He's he's twisted the narrative to suit himself quite well, hasn't he? He got a bit lucky maybe with the touch on all the yellows, but you know what? He played the shot positively. He deserved a bit of luck. He hasn't had a hell of a lot of it in this game, but at some point it often swings back to point your way. Just 2 frames in it now, Mike.
No, it's good. Got a game on our hands. And yeah, it's always fascinating in the slightly longer races just how the momentum can swing around, really, because it was, Des was looking comfortable with a big margin in the first part of the match, and 5 minutes later Baden can quickly bounce off a couple of frames and he's right back in it, so you can never count anybody out.
This final actually being played at quite a good pace too. It's been a nice free-flowing type of game. There hasn't been a lot of glaring mistakes.
It's been pretty good in general today. Like, don't get me wrong, a couple of the matches when they got towards the end and the scores were tight, they kind of slowed right down then, but most of the matches have gotten off to a pretty good start and pace. And again, like we said before, it's what we want to see. We want to see the players running racks and making shots and playing good positive pool. And I definitely think the shift we've made to black ball rules has helped that a lot as well. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback from not just the players but the people who watch about black ball rules as well. So it's really good to see.
It encompasses all the things we love about pool. I think that these black ball rules, you love to see shots being made, you love to see shots attempted, you love to see players actually playing pool that's attractive to watch on TV or in person, and the black ball rules for me are the best to showcase that.
Absolutely, and Kirk makes a fair point there. I'd temporarily forgotten how Baden potted that good black and scratched the cue ball that we didn't see coming. If that didn't happen, 4-all we'd be looking at right now. So very fine margins. I think to be fair, both players probably will be happy enough. I think Baden from 5-1 down, he'll be happy to get a couple of frames back on the board and close the gap. And I think Des at the same time, he'll be more than happy to be leading and already have 5 frames on the board too. So it's just who can kick on from here, really.
Looked like a successful break. It's just the fact that there are several balls tying each other up makes it difficult to really choose a good set here.
Yeah, I think I do prefer yellows in this situation. It's just that one on the left side by the red, I can't quite tell if it's on or not.
I don't think it is, even with the smaller cue ball, so my thought is that he's going to have to play into this to release it. Maybe off the yellow that's in bulk on the left.
It's very close to on. It's hard. It's always so hard to tell from the camera. It's when you wish you're in the room and you can get
exactly
right down the line for a look. But I guess we will find out soon.
Either of these yellows in bulk, I reckon, could possibly come off a rail and then get that split.
I think the problem is though, if you make that split, what are you going to play next? You kind of have to be, you're almost, because of where the other yellow would be behind the black, you'd be having to make that split and guarantee that you land on the same ball, which is it's always tricky. Anytime you're playing a split, it's fantastic if you've got another one of your balls near a pocket somewhere you can kind of guarantee that will be your next option.
Yeah, so we're calling all random occurrences into question, aren't you? Which you really don't want to do. You want things to be less randomised on shots like that.
Into it. Oh, he's got it wrong. I've seen this a couple of times with a few of the players, and they're trying to do something a little bit more with the cue ball. We just see the eye taken off the pot because that was a pretty straightforward pot, I thought, unless the red was covering half the pocket a bit more than I thought. But
yeah, well, and when you're playing at pace too, you only have to catch a tiny piece of that ball and the deflection throws it off the pocket, and when you're playing it slowly you tend to get away with it, and sometimes that ball that's slightly in the way gets in your mind a bit more. It just throws you off enough so you don't pop the ball.
So we think Baden he's probably weighing up, probably just chip this red out and keep it tight. Oh, he's underhit that. He surely wanted to get that red closer to the middle pocket. He's underhit that by a mile.
I think he was just wanting to make sure the cue ball stayed tight to the yellow, because if the cue ball goes any further away from the yellow, this shot becomes more on than it is. It's on anyway, but difficult, but it could have been easier. Des has almost played a brilliant shot there.
That was very close, very close. And he played it at a nice pace where he gave the nap a chance to help it in as well, but just not quite there. So
fine cut for the split. No, maybe one of these balls down this end of the table for a split on the black.
I don't think this is a great position to be in. It's not a fantastic. He's only got one good red to shoot at. It's not the most fantastic angle. He's going to have to stun this kind of straight up and down, sort of into the top rail and back towards the black spot. Or is he going to try and go forward off two rails and attack that red and the black?
Really needs to hit the black though and not the red, because if he hits the red he pushes it into the yellow, and if he picks the black off clean then he leaves the red there and it's on. That's interesting. I just wonder if he might be looking to tuck up now. Got himself into a pickle. I just think it might be time just to put a snooker in somewhere.
I feel like maybe if we were trying to get the cue ball back towards the pocket at the bottom right of the screen and get the red out central, but maybe he's just going to kill it there.
Oh, there's a way to get a snooker. That's great innovative play actually.
The fact he's put that red over there and sort of cat amongst the pigeons with those two yellows just makes any potential finishes or opportunities for Des that much tougher as well. So it's clever from Baden.
Red first. It's a foul.
Free shot, so fantastic opportunity for Baden.
There's a couple of shots he could play here. I know that there's a few reds that are in trouble. I just wonder if he goes for a little twofer here and tries to knock two of them out, and that gives himself two more chances at a finish, or whether he keeps it tight.
I think, and that's it. We've got to remember that I think, with having a few more balls on the table, and I feel like he does have the slight upper hand, so doesn't have to force the issue, doesn't have to go searching for the finish, but he needs to be smart with how he uses the free shot to just ensure that he develops things well. I wondered if he would come off the black and take that red. He might even be able to set it up in a way that the cue ball comes off the top rail and develops that red on the left rail too, so could kill two birds with one stone here.
I think that's the shot, eh?
No, he doesn't like it.
Play one into the other here. Bounce. Oh, see now, look at this though. He's left himself on the one in the middle, so he could use that one in the middle to get himself closer to that one down the rail on the right, and he can then use that for a breakout perhaps.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's got the angle here though.
I think he's too straight. You're right, Mike. Might have just slight mental omission there perhaps.
It's a wee bit of a shame, like if the reds he developed before, if that one wasn't covering the pocket the way it is, he could probably just stun this one in, and then the red that's below the black, he could almost cut that across to the bottom left of the screen, but it's obviously not going to be in the equation anymore.
I think he's played the first shot the way he wanted to.
So I think he has tried to force the split. I think he's tried to stun run, sort of hit it into the left side of the pocket and force a bit of an angle, but hasn't quite got it right, so tricky now because it's getting tougher and tougher to keep Des tight.
I think he was a little bit lackadaisical on the one in the middle. I think the first part of the free shot worked out brilliantly. He gave himself the angle on the one in the middle to make that split possible, but then he just undercued it and ended up straight, so This is why he's where he is now. If it's anyone who can make it happen from here, though.
Does that red go in the middle?
He's certainly looking at it like it does.
If it does, he just needs to kind of give this one a bit of play it to the top right corner screen and give it a bit of stun screw, 2 rails, and get underneath it.
Result, you reckon, or do you think he should be unhappy with that?
Yeah, was it? You know, regardless of the result, he's not going to be happy because he did not hit that well, and that, you know, that always sits with you. But you're absolutely right. It could have been a much worse leave, but I think Des has got a bit of freedom to just have a go at this because you know, it would be a very, even if he misses this, it's going to be, he's probably going to cover that pocket, and it's going to be tough for Baden from there. So I think Des can just take this on, pocket weight to the top right. Oh, has he left half a gap?
He's left half a gap.
I'll tell you what, I reckon there's a line to go 3 rails and contact that red and black as well if he wants. If he just plays this with left and can just miss the middle pocket, just a hint of left.
True.
Oh, he
Want
needs
that to fall.
that to drop.
Wanted that to fall because then that would have called the snooker in, perhaps. There's got to be a double on here, I reckon.
Well, he was looking at it in the middle pocket before, and I think it might go in the middle. It's just going to be a case of what can he do with the black afterwards, even if he does, because all he can do is float that in the middle and not much more. He just needs a little bit of distance between the white and black.
That snapped into the rail though, hasn't it? That's
yeah.
the problem with that shot, is that you're hoping that the nap doesn't take it, and when you're playing slowly, the nap invariably will kick in.
So Des probably just weighing up which one to go first. I mean, it's good. I mean, they're all pretty makeable balls. It's just which one's going to give you the best look at the black to finish. And I think you want to get this one out the way early because that's you know, most likely going to be the shot you're playing or the pocket you're playing the black into. But that's not great. He's screwed that a bit wide, and he would have wanted to get a lot closer. I suspect he would rather have taken the yellow on the top left of the screen next. He might still take it, but it's a much tougher pot than he was looking at.
I think he has to take it. The other one's just too awkward.
Yeah, no problem. His potting has been sharp.
Bit of bottom right, you reckon? One rail and come across to the middle of the table?
Yeah, I think this one I play a lot of right and just make sure that middle pocket is not in question at all. But again, he's conservative. He's back in his potting at the moment. He doesn't need to get closer to it. He knows he can just leave it there, and he knows he can slot that black. Hey, not too dissimilar line to where Baden managed to stun it into the corner from, though, is it?
No. Oh, he's missed it. Dear, oh dear.
Wow.
Oh, Des Wilcox, what have you done?
Well, I guess you could say that's one each with a similar black. Baden managed to scratch on one, and Des has missed one, and wow, we did not see that coming. That's huge.
We're just bigging him up about how good his potting's been as well, Mike.
There's been 2 or 3 now quite big moments in this match that have kind of swung the momentum each time. Like I say, Baden had the one that he scratched on earlier, and when he looked like he was set to close the match up, he went in off and ended up giving Des a big lead. And just when Des had a chance to really open up a gap in the second half of the match, now he's fluffed one, and suddenly Baden's only a frame behind. So momentum is absolutely shifted from the first half of the match, and pretty level right now, to be honest.
Well, not only just the score, but you reckon the score deserves to be this? It's just like what we were saying between Steve and Des in the semi-final. I mean, the score deserved to be that because on balance that's where the players would have ended up. So it's very much the same on this one. I don't think that was a ball off the break either from Baden. That's gone dry. Bit of an ugly lie though. Not a lot of good stuff happening there. Probably be
No template on that break either, was there?
no.
It's interesting because Baden has been using it earlier, hasn't he? He's been chopping and changing a wee bit.
It's amazing because his break's actually been pretty good on the whole, so I don't know what's made him change his mind.
And you never know, I mean, it even could be something like, if he feels like the open frames are suiting Des better and Des is getting the better of those situations, and maybe Baden feels like when the balls are a little bit tighter, he's getting an advantage in those situations. That's a great shot from Des. He's controlled that very well, because when you play that with a bit of side like that, it really wants to take off the rail and accelerate, and he's allowed for it perfectly, so nice shot. Still plenty of work to do, but again, we said it earlier, he's getting onto his difficult balls early quite well.
If that yellow weren't in the way to the right of the red, then this would be another split.
Well, I think that
Could
red
even
might
be-
almost be on.
Yeah. No, it was on, okay.
Well, now it's on.
No, that's
Really?
a great shot. It was actually, I wasn't sure whether that was potable or playable, but it was.
So he's got a nice angle to flick the white back out and get out into the middle of the table and give himself options for the final three. So I'm starting to look ahead and wonder what his plan's going to be with the black. It needs to keep going.
It's kind of half in between, isn't it? If it had stopped, it would have been okay, and he would have had the one rightmost down the rail. If it had kept going, he would have had the one over the pocket, but it stopped in between.
Is the one in the centre on though, or is the yellow just covering it too much? No.
The one to the left of the yellow,
yeah.
I don't think that's on. It is now. That's a great shot, but it's just gone too far.
Oh wow. I'll tell you what, he'd be tempted to double it now, won't he?
No, I don't think it goes.
The red.
I don't think it goes.
Double it back to the middle.
I could go. Mind you, I've been wrong this frame once, so I wouldn't be surprised if he doubles this just to make me feel really dumb.
Oh, you never know. It's always hard to see the angles from side on. I think it'll be too tricky to take the red over the pocket first, so I feel like he's got to take the double now.
Yeah, that's what he's aiming up.
Because the black's going to be tricky to get a good look at as well, so he'll want to have that red over the bag to use it.
Come on! Oh, he tried to lean it in too.
Definitely on in the end though, because he missed that yellow by plenty, so he's a fraction away there. He would have still had a very difficult shot, I think, to give himself a good look at the black, but tell you what, this is wide open for Baden now.
Used all of that pocket, didn't he? But he wanted to, because look where he's put the red. That's a great shot.
Killed that red in the process. It was very well done. It's just, like you say, he could not touch that red and he could still run these out the majority of the time, but in these situations it's just nice to know in the back of your mind that you've got a bit up your sleeve.
Oh dear. But casual, I think.
Just a really tentative stroke, wasn't it? You could see just it wasn't very committed.
Yeah, it's almost like a pressure release, this too, isn't it? Because Des would have been thinking, oh, I'm going to be 5 each here.
And I'll tell you what, I think, this is a tough pot, but if he can make it, there's just enough angle that he'll end up with a shot on the next red too, so... Yeah, shot Des.
It's gone a bit straight, hasn't it? I was a bit surprised that rolled as straight as it did.
So he's just got, the problem he's going to have now is I think the pace he's going to have to put on this to pot it. I think the cue ball's going to want to run all the way down to the far end of the table, so he's just got to be really careful he doesn't get trapped behind any yellows. He was able to play it slower than I thought. Much slower. I think he was wanting to travel past that and have the black back to the middle on the right side of the table, but he's actually come up short. He possibly just caught the red a fraction thicker than intended. I think if he hit the exact same weight and just caught that red a fraction thinner, it just comes back a little bit straighter, runs a little bit further, and he's bang on the middle. So
cannon.
This would be some
cannon.
Shot. This is the shot, because even if you don't make it, if you can get the black over that bag.
Cannon.
Oh,
yes.
Shot as Wilcox.
Boom. Hear it go off.
That's huge, and it's a huge shot at the best of times, but in the context of the match as well, that's massive.
Too exciting for me. I need to nip off very quickly.
John's off for a number 3. He enjoyed that shot so much.
Yeah. I was trying to hold on because I knew something awesome was going to happen.
It's balls from Des, you know. It's one thing making those shots when you're mucking around with your mates and having a hit or whatever, but to make those shots in national finals, that's something else. Respect. That's a good break. Oh, that little kick on the cue ball at the end. It's a cruel. He hadn't held the cue ball centre of the table, but he had held it relatively well, had a nice open look, and just that little kick has just made the starter that much tougher. But I'll tell you what, I personally think the reds still look pretty good here, and he's got a good look at the red on into the left centre, so I suspect he'll be starting there, and if he can get that other red on the right side into the middle next as well, then he's just got 4 left up at this end, which look like they'd string together very nicely. Kiss that yellow, that's perfect. So as long as he's got enough angle on this to stun out past that yellow, or he just needs to, or even just draw back a little bit, excellent opportunity for Des. So I'm wondering here as well, black ball on the left rail, not in optimum position. He's got a perfect angle here to stun into it and develop that too. Just like that. Great stuff. So run through this one. I think it looks like he needs to be on the red closest to the middle. I don't think the other one passes it, so he just needs to make sure he runs through just enough so he can drop it in. He still wants to be quite straight on it so that he doesn't have to do much for the next red. He has run a little bit fast, so I'm not 100% sure he'll just be floating this in anymore. He might need to play this one sort of a little bit low cue ball, a little bit draggy, and try and actually just pull the cue ball back towards the centre of the table, and then he can shoot the red towards the bottom right of the screen. Perfect. The best thing about Des in this frame is he's actually playing the shots I'm calling. He was making an idiot out of me before, but now he's doing exactly what I say. So thank you very much, Des. It's much appreciated. Boom. 7-4. And so in the blink of an eye, just when Baden had closed the deficit up to 1 frame, Des has jumped back out to a 3-frame lead. John's been gone for about 20 seconds and he's missed Des putting another frame on the board. And Des is on the hill, 7-4.
It's just a wish. Just wish you hadn't drank so much. Missed something cool there.
Break and run from Des it was what you missed. Just got up and delivered.
Just hit send on that bad boy. Here comes Baden with a riposte. What has he got?
He's got his back against the wall is what he's got. He needs to win 4 frames on the bounce.
Reds for your life. Do you risk it and take the one up this end of the table he's looking at?
Yeah, you know, I personally, I think a few too many times, and yeah, hindsight's easy, it's easy for me to say this, but there's been a few occasions where Baden's got a table that he could go for a clearance, and he's tended to err on the more conservative side more often than not. And perhaps at this point, it's maybe his best way to get back into the match here is going to be to put some heat on Des and clean up a few frames quickly. So I'd like to see him just back himself to go for this.
Well, there was one frame I remember him playing against Simon when Simon got a poor break and didn't split them very well, and Baden still was able to finish, but he's gone and missed that one, which you would not believe he'd miss it.
You got to wonder. I mean, the pressure's is going to be starting to feel it. I definitely also see. Baden's had some tough matches in the last couple of days, and you've been able to see sort of after the matches that he's been, feeling the strain of those matches a wee bit. So no doubt when you're in there in the national final, completely surrounded in the arena, and your opponent's on the hill and you're only halfway there, it's no doubt incredibly tough. Not a great layout for Des, but he does have, I like the look of the starter. If he can play this to the middle, he might even be able to give that yellow on the rail a little bit of a tickle if he wants.
That's think
He
that's
might
a
just
big
drop
shot.
himself in the gap though as well, and just
sorry.
get the one to the corner first to open that pocket up to the other two. So he's got options, but it's not straightforward.
He's just got to make a choice, doesn't he? He's actually not even looking at either of them. Is this going to take this double line here?
Wow.
Oh, what a shot that
You
is.
see that?
Get away from the pocket.
I'm not sure that shot was actually 100% necessary. I think he was thinking that it would clear that red out and open up the pocket for the black. It was really cool. Did you see how the yellow actually bananaed in? It hit the red, stopped, and then went forward again. It was
because he had so much power on it. It's all that spin just kicked back in after it hit the red, and then it spun in again.
I guess it's the sort of shot you can play when you've got a few frame buffer and all the pressure's on your opponent. I don't think that's the sort of shot you play when you're 7-4 down, but I'm not quite sure if that's a result or not, to be honest, because while he might have solved one problem, he's made another one.
We've got 200 viewers, folks. Rejoice.
The double ton is up.
Oh, has he got an angle on this yellow just outside of bulk?
It looks a little bit straight for me.
Oh, bugger. Because if he did...
Because I'd be wondering the other thing is, if he could glance that yellow off the red into that corner, that will shift the red away from that pocket, but it makes the pot so much tougher. So I'm not sure. What he might do is if he's looking at the yellow down this end now, it's actually a nice angle to try and play the white two rails underneath that yellow that's by the D and get a little bit of luck to develop it.
Oh, he's had a hack at it. He hasn't even hit it though. Didn't make the pot, didn't hit the yellow either.
He's playing very aggressively this frame, Des, and credit to him. I mean, he just made that awesome cannon on the black before, and he's played some pretty positive pool today, and it's worked out quite well for him. So you can't knock him kind of continuing to attack and go for it, but you do have to be careful, because if you just ease up a little bit too much, Baden's been around long enough. He will punish you eventually, and he could start clawing his way back into this.
Does he go for a snooker here? You can hide behind the black and the red. The red's close to the black. If he hits this full enough, he's actually trying to snooker behind that other red, and he hasn't quite made it. But this is going to be an incredibly tough shot for Des, though.
Yeah, it's not a bad leave either way. Des will be doing very well to finish from here. Can't rule it out, but he will be doing well. I suspect he'll just take on the yellow closest to him. Oh man, it's we're borderline and off either way, but I feel like he might have a go at it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think which pocket it's better suited to go in, assuming it goes in both, and which pocket is less likely to result in an off.
The other option he could be looking at is to cannon the first yellow into the second yellow and then into the right hand pocket. It's a little bit more natural, and he can control the cue ball a bit better. It's quite well lined up for it, like he doesn't have to cut the ball much to play that shot. It's all about the pace.
Yeah, that's what he looked at, wasn't it? That's what he tried to do, and it hasn't worked.
Just caught it a fraction full, and it just killed the ball. So still, Des is continuing to sort of really try and push the envelope, but just not quite coming off for him in this frame.
Well, the difference there was that he was forced into doing it. The shot before that, he didn't have to as much, so he kind of made himself do it the first time, but the second time he was forced into it. Baden asked him the question.
I think the point of difference is that perhaps more often we've seen Baden when he's in similar situations would probably have been more likely to look for the containing safety, whereas at the moment Des is looking to try and find ways to finish it. And I like that. You don't want to spend too long on the hill. You want to get over the line as quick as possible. Know that feeling. So you got to remember all the pressure is on Baden right now. There's much less pressure on Des. So I think Des is playing to that a little bit.
Yeah, but sometimes what can happen is that you get too antsy. I know you want to get off the hill as soon as possible. You did right, but sometimes you've still got to be smart about it. If you try to do it too quickly, then you end up going away from what you know you should be doing.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we might have just seen a little bit of that from Des in this frame. He's played a good shot there, but Baden absolutely has the upper hand in this frame at the moment. He's got control of the bulk end of the table, and he's got 3 balls at the other end that give him some options. So I think he's going to be quite content here just to keep things tight. And the other thing he's doing at the moment is just, again, knocking Dez's momentum. It was 5-4 not that long ago, and Des just suddenly rattled off a couple of frames with some big shots very quickly. So Baden can just really make this frame last as long as possible. That goes a long way to kind of taking the wind out of Dez's sails once again. So it's quite interesting. We've seen it. There's been several times in this match. Des has had he started well with some good form, and then Baden slowed it down, pulled it back a bit, and then Des pulled away a bit again, and then Baden slowed it down and pulled it back a bit again. So
that's a fantastic shot.
It's a great shot.
Even if that had sat right over the bag, I think Baden would have been more than happy with that. But he's potted it, so he's given himself maybe a chance to finish if that's still where he's looking. Safety's always in mind, but you know that it's Baden Jackson, and you know he wants to get on with it himself, so he's going to play another safety here. Just going to bide his time here and try to give himself a better look at the table next time around so he can finish, rather than just hoping that he can finish. I just wonder if Des could possibly double this yellow on the right hand side of the table in behind that ready to
skill
hit.
shot, is he?
He might have been, and
He was.
that would have been a coup if he'd got that.
And to be fair, while he's still continuing to attack, he's probably recognised at this point of the frame, but Baden's got full control of this frame right now. So I think Des is sort of spotted there that, he's kind of at the point where he did have to chance his arm, but wow, Baden will be disappointed with that one. I'm sure he was hoping that second red was just going to run through a little bit more and leave it a little bit closer to that corner. So
Just
as
died,
much as it's
didn't
not
it?
a great shot here, I don't think he'll want to come back for it and have to try and get posi again. So I think it does make sense to play now, and at least if you miss, you've got the cue ball on the opposite end of the table.
Played to miss it deliberately for mine.
No, I don't think he. I think he would have. I think he would have tried to pot that if he could. Because I think Des, Des has got shots now. I think Des can play the highest yellow past that red into that corner almost. So
You've also got the one on the left that may also cut. Yeah, he's taking the one on the left because it cuts. This could very well open the others up here.
overcut.
Oh,
Wow.
he overcut it. You see how much that meant to him as well.
Wow, because he knew if that dropped, the way he developed those two yellows, he would have had a great chance from there to take out the match. So, and he wouldn't have been you don't expect to overcut those ones. I know when you're down on them and they miss on the opposite side, you're just like, how has that happened? But it has happened, and Baden now odds on to take the frame out. He's going to have to just flirt with the black a little bit.
It's a tease, isn't it, that black being there?
It is, but he doesn't need to be super straight on it, so he can afford to just, if anything, just err slightly on the harder side and just make sure you're not snookered and make sure you've got to look at that red, because even if you end up overrunning slightly, you've still got to look at it. You can't snooker yourself here, is it?
Bang on there. Right there, I reckon, where his kill is. Sort of half ball type angle, or maybe a little fuller than half ball, because
the other option,
he
could consider going further round and trying to get the other side of it if he's scared of this shot, but
it's beautiful. It's right where he needed it.
And it's a brave shot when when your opponent's on the hill and you're down and there's a risk of snookering yourself. You do have to be brave to play those ones, and he has done it there.
Punched it in too, that's brave as well. He's opened it up.
He's hanging in there, Baden. He's not done yet.
Ooh!
I'll tell you what, that wasn't in the centre of the
Yeah, I know.
He twitched on that one. Oh.
You see how quickly he's walked away, he's like, oh jeez. Just by his fingernails, isn't he? Fingertip stuff.
7-5. Des Wilcox over Baden Jackson.
At what price do you put a hill finish?
He'll finish, you reckon? Jeez, I don't know.
I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying at what price. If you're betting, Stumpy, if you're listening to this,
What are the odds?
start sticking some odds in.
I mean, look, we've seen it before. We've seen people win from this position. Steve come through his quarter-final against Adam Shaw from this exact position. Any of these guys are good enough to win 3 frames on the bounce.
Baden did this against Simon in a semi.
Exactly, yeah. Sorry, just in the very last match. So he knows he can do it. Des will know Baden can do it. But at the end of the day, I think, Des will fancy himself to get one of the next few frames. No two ways about it.
Players just taking a very quick break. You did right, Brad. Not just in pool, but in life too. Just a quick mention of our sponsors whilst I've got the opportunity, because without these people, this thing just doesn't happen. DJ Purdon Builders, so Darren Purdon, thank you very much. Pete's Painters, which is Peter Wilson, thank you. Kevlar Homes, thank you all very much. Smoke and Barrel, which is Chris Gary's work. He does some amazing slow cooked meats.
Let's give a shout out to Ricky Wang from Kevlar Homes as well. Thanks, Ricky.
And of course the Richmond Club for being a brilliant host of this event. So yeah, amazing venue this place, being rebuilt. It's been here in some form or other since 1888, but of course was torn down after the earthquakes destroyed it in 2011 and
it's a shame
rebuilt.
because you can't pick up from the stream the full setup in the room, and we've got a brand new facility and work is set up in the hall for this tournament. Heaps of space around the tables, heaps of viewing area as well, so spectators can wander into the room and they can set up at leaners anywhere in the room and watch any table they want. So heaps of good feedback from the players who've travelled in from outside of Christchurch for this tournament. They're loving it at the Richmond Club, so thanks very much from the team here. It's been a great venue.
That's a brilliant post, Michael. I absolutely love a good pun. You're an absolute pungent master. Also, just a quick shout out to the juniors. The junior Canterbury's pairs and singles being played at this venue in a different room, so they're the future of our game, so go and support them as well when you can.
So back to the match, Des has kicked us off. He's comboed the yellow onto the red, take the red and establish the set. One of the other
reds will go.
Yeah, should do, and it's really cool in these rule sets as well, being able to play the the opposite sets onto each other when the set's not established. It just opens up so many more options at the start of the frame. So it's definitely tricky ball on the left rail near the middle pocket. Obviously there's one on yellows as well, but it's got a couple of tough balls here to make happen. Yeah.
Wanted that to sit it. He might have left half a hole open there. He wanted that to sit right over the bin, I think. Take away any chance that Baden has of being able to sneak that in.
Yeah, and I reckon we'll see Des just calm the farm a tiny bit after that break. I think that might have been quite good timing for him, because he was really trying to force it in that last frame. And hey, don't get me wrong, it's he was in a position to do it, but he's got to recognise he's in a good position, and if he plays smart pool, he will win one of the next 3 frames and he will win this final. So I think that's the trick for Des from here.
You reckon he's going to take this and be in for the one for bulk and then sort of go from there?
I'd be very tempted to take that yellow to the middle now, because it's just, any time you've got a half decent look at one of your potentially difficult balls, it's good to take it while it's on. I'm mostly curious again, it's got a similar problem to Des with the yellow on the left rail near the middle. What's he going to do with that? And sometimes the best option is just to set yourself for the double. These guys are good enough that from that position they'll expect to make that double 9 times out of 10. So Sometimes rather than trying to kick it off the rail or put it down the rail, get yourself centre of the table, face double back into the centre.
Well, yeah, I know that Baden loves his doubles, so he'll be playing with that in mind, I think. This needs a bounce, and it has, so get this in and follow slightly, and I think that yellow does go. The one that he's queuing up now, I still reckon that drops. He's going to have to hit it with pace anyway, or a little bit of pace to get the cue ball to come back out for that double, so let's find out.
Yeah,
It's got an angle. Yeah. Angle's natural too. He doesn't have to hit it so hard from here. He just has to watch the black and make sure he gets the pot.
Just needs to play it with the tracer left. The key is here is he has to get past that yellow. If he ends up sort of in line with that yellow, it's going to double kiss. So he does have to get just past it.
Go, 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 go.
Short.
He's
That's
ended up.
short. It might still be there.
I think
if
it's
he loads
on.
it, if he loads it out with check side, I think it still goes. But the problem is when you load that with check side, you ain't going to be able to get that white where you want for the black. So I think this just got tricky.
Well, the red's covered it. That's what's made it tricky.
Well, if he plays this with power, that's the other option. That'll straighten the yellow and let the white travel. But yeah, I did suspect he'd just gone. He was just a fraction short, so he was very close. But a great chance now. Great chance for Des.
You felt that he was trying to get both worlds out of that, though. He kind of needed it, though, because of the black being covered. He had to try and do as much as he could with that shot, and unfortunately he just missed the pot in doing so. He actually got himself on the black, or would have been on the black, I believe. It's just a shame that he couldn't quite make the pot as well. Lots of opportunities for a snooker here, but whether Des will be looking at that or whether he'll be trying to pot out here, I reckon he just plays for a snooker here and grinds it down. Shot.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about that way is he's made one of his reds more difficult now. And obviously, if there's a good chance he'll get the free shot, but he already had two problem balls, potentially two problem balls that he needed a free shot to help. Now he's got three, so a good chance to get a free shot out of this, but it's going to be he's going to have that much more work to do with it when he gets it. I
was thinking 1, 2. Well, it's going to be tough either way he goes. He could go left rail and then with a bit of left hand side to check it up, but I think he's looking at possibly going between those reds either side and getting to the yellow that way.
I think if it was me, I'd be looking just to go straight up and down long and be playing it sort of just the weight to get to the ball so that you only glance that yellow, and if you do hit it, you keep that yellow just covering that red. If you miss it, okay, they get a free shot, but that yellow is still covering that red. I feel like I would consider going that way at it.
Yeah, you don't want to disturb much on this, do you?
No, exactly. And obviously you can't play a deliberate foul and a deliberate miss, but you can play it in a way that, okay, you're trying to catch the edge of it really thin, knowing that if you get it slightly wrong and you just miss it, it might not be the end of the world.
May not be too bad a foul. Because sometimes you foul, some of them obviously you absolutely can't foul on because it's basically the end of the frame. This was possibly not one of those.
He'll be desperate to hit it though, because he'll know at the same time, I mean, if he can hit it and he doesn't give Des that free shot, Des really needs the free shot to help this rack of balls, so it's going to be interesting to see what option he settles on here. He's definitely having a good think about it.
Yeah, I can see what you mean with going up towards bolt back and maybe even just getting a tiny touch on the yellow off the head rail, because that doesn't disturb much and he hasn't given Des a free shot.
I can't quite see how he's going to... Yeah,
I see what he was doing, yeah.
I'll tell you what, and I'm just speculating. I do wonder if he's chosen to go that way as well, almost thinking that, okay, it is an honest attempt because there is a path, but he also knows I probably won't get it and I probably won't move that yellow. But what's gone wrong is he's basically chipped Des's worst ball off of the rail. So this makes things a lot simpler for Des. I initially wondered, would he use the free shot to kind of promote that red that's covered by the yellow, but I suspect he'll be thinking the red on the very bottom of the screen, he can play that off the inside of the yellow and open that pocket up anyway. So I think from here he'll just take this one to the middle, get the tricky ball on the side rail, and then work from there.
Yeah, it's almost as backing himself and
just needs to get all the way to that cushion. Nice.
Well, he's just using the natural angle of the balls, isn't he? And the fact that the yellow allows that red to.
I'll tell you what, I'm curious to see how much angle he can get on this because he needs to hit it. And that was what I thought. While he could have played that off the yellow, I think it was dead straight, and I don't think he could have done much with the cue ball. But I don't think he's executed that shot very well, has he? Because
you can see the edge of this.
Yeah, I know there's not a lot Baden can do with this, but.
Oh dear.
Oh wow.
Oh dear. He wanted that right in the jaw, I think, but he's just over-cued it, and that could be very well the last shot Baden plays in this match.
These are not straightforward though at all. Very easy to get this wrong and leave the yellow right in the way. And I wonder if there'll be a temptation to go quite hard at this and just bring the white ball back for the red that's just above the black spot, just to ensure that the yellow is left nowhere near there.
Oh, I tell you what, that's not great.
He'll be playing the snooker this time, surely. Red on the right rail, just circle on it, sit in there. Doesn't look like great lines to get out of there. I tell you what, honestly, I really think there's a couple of times, just like his last visit, he played that safety shot very quickly and hasn't left it anywhere near as tight as he could. And, I know you don't expect Baden to make this, but he absolutely should have had the white, very close to the red and the rail there, and left this escape much tougher for Baden.
Well, so one rail escape, and he could cut it in the middle as well.
That's it. No, just if he was tied to that red, he would have taken away the bulk rail. So, yeah, it's not a bad shot, but I think with a little bit more care, he could have left that a lot tougher.
He's going to go left rail and try to kick the yellow into the top right pocket here. The reason why he's doing that for mine is because if he does get this shot, he should be on the black, but no, he's gone back to the long rail, to the long way. Oh, he just about snipped it in the middle.
Yeah, it was close.
This time for Des, perhaps.
I respect that, because look, Baden, he could have hit that ball if he'd wanted. He's a good enough player, like he could aim full ball and make sure he hits that, but he knew that he needed to pot that ball, so he's gone for the edge and he's narrowly missed it. And obviously the penalty is a free shot and it could cost him the frame in the match, but he went for the shot that he needed to win the match. So
no, hats off. Hats off. It didn't work, but it could well have, and he gave it the best chance to work.
Well, that's it, because if he just hits the ball full ball, he's 99% going to finish from there anyway, so he's given it a chance. But he's taken a little bit of time over this. I think you just need to just float this one in pocket weight, and the angle he's got's nice because the white will just come off the rail a little bit. I think the risk is actually probably doesn't want to pot it, because if he pots it he won't have the best natural angle to get from one red to the next.
Whoa. Whoa.
So yeah, I definitely think he's deliberately missed that because he just wants to make sure he's got all three with good looks. So I think sensible there, not floating it in pocket weight in or over, actually making sure he missed it and left it there.
Yeah, he did. He played that deliberately like that to make sure he was on that other red that he ended up potting. So took his time over it because he was probably wondering whether he wanted to pot it.
Oh, Des. Why did he go that way?
Oh, Desmond, why?
I can't believe that.
Neither can I.
That was match over.
It's a rush of blood to the head, it's white line fever, it's all of those things and more.
Mike was ready to get up out of the room.
That is outrageous.
He can plonk himself back down.
He shouldn't have been taking that red. He could have taken the other one, and yeah, there was several different ways he could have gone about it. He just needed to take a bit more time, settle on a sensible option, commit to it.
Don't know if this black passes the red. It's what Baden's looking at. He needs to make it too, because if he doesn't make it, he leaves it over the hold, and Des can snooker him.
I haven't recovered from that shot Des played, I'm sorry. It's not going to sit on that red.
Oh, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Oh, would you still play it? Whether it's on or not, would you play it towards that pocket? At least sit it there and make Des do something. Oh no, he's mucked it up. He's mucked it up. He needed it in the way, he's overhit it.
I'm quite lost for words just on these last couple of shots. I know how tough it is out there in these situations. I've been on live stream in big matches, and I've made horrible mistakes. I know what it's like, but the last visit from each of the guys I just didn't see panning out their way. But surely this time he has to get it done.
No guarantees, bud.
I think what we'll see this time is he's going to take his time and absolutely make sure of it.
Oh, this is a Nike mode black, Mike. Oh, jeez, what? I think he just loves the tightrope. He loves the tightrope.
Has he got it for the match?
No, that's that.
Oh, where's the cue? How fast the cue ball going? No, that's all right.
It's cuttable, surely. Or if not, then he can come off the side rail.
Sit back down, Mike.
I tell you what though, these are itchy as well, you know. Got it! On we march!
How has Des not won that frame?
I don't know. I don't know about anything anymore. What is this?
I've twice gotten out my seat because once this match finishes, I've got to sprint back through to the next room for the prize giving. I've twice gotten out of my seat and gotten ready to go, and put the mockers on Des each time. So perhaps I'm just going to stay seated until he pots the black from now on.
Yeah, you just continue drinking your Jimmy there, Mike. You jammed him up twice already.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, everyone's happy.
Yeah, you're in the same vessel as us, folks.
I'll tell you what, I mean, if Baden were to get it back to 7-0 from here, Des will be losing the plot. It'll be very hard for him he'll already be losing the plot. It's going to take some composure from Des to sort of, just settle himself and calm it from here.
Oh, he's got nothing off the break, would you believe it?
So Des, he's got first visit to the table, it's wide open.
Your guess is as good as ours, Gina. How not to play a pressure frame? I don't want to be too harsh because I've done it before.
Unreal.
It's white line fever, that's all I can say really. He hasn't.
I mean, I'll tell you what, it's great. It's great for the stream. It's great for the program. So we love a bit of drama. So I'm sure it's terrible for Des's nerves. He'll be aging rapidly in this match.
Careful
big
with
shot
the black.
here.
Careful with the black. I'm catastrophizing slightly, but I was looking at that black there.
There's always the risk. I must admit, I wasn't 100% sure at the start the reds were the best set. Purely because of that red and that black right there. I personally thought the yellows looked pretty good.
No,
I thought
he made a poor choice as well, Mike.
Yeah, and even there, he's just backed himself for the double with not really too much concern for if he missed, and he's missed it by a bit. So I think it looks like to me like Des is pretty rattled right now. I think it was probably that first miss that absolutely rattled him, but where he just had that hack at the red to the middle when he should have taken the one to the corner first with two reds to go.
I was about to tell him that your 3 kids need new shoes, Des. Oh no. It's not as bad though because he hasn't left as much. A couple of fine cuts. If he can slice one of these in, then he's back to within a good chance of winning the frame. Nice, Phil. But is he going to try and hide behind it here? Double. Oh, you wouldn't. Oh, look at this. Maybe he hasn't lost his mind.
He's credit. He's sticking to his guns, and I do respect that because I'm a big fan of just committing to some attacking pool myself. But I've just the last couple of frames have surely just called out for a tad more control. But hey, if he gets the job done.
No, oh, look, get out of there.
He needs to land in that gap.
Oosh. If he'd been on that red though, then look out.
He's just rolling the dice at the moment, isn't he? Because even that shot there was just, it was going to be contacting the yellows. There was no guarantee where that was going to land.
Triple, top left corner.
Wow.
He's given that a good ride, and I tell you what, leaving it near the hole like that puts a bit more pressure on Baden. He's got these all open, but that's not an easy starter, and he's got to think he needs to make this. I don't think he absolutely needs to make this, but he'll feel like he does.
I think he'll take the yellow closest to him into the right middle first. Or is he not?
Is he going to push the red safe off this, or maybe the plant's on?
I fancy that yellow to the middle. I just think that's the shot. The white's travelling towards the left side of the table, and even if he misses this, where the white will land would make it really hard for Des to string together a finish from there. So
side angle. Yeah, well, I actually think the better shot here is as you described. Yeah, but he could also play it to cannon off the other yellow, because that way the cue ball will be running more to the left-hand side.
It'll stop way shorter. I think he would want the cue ball as far down the table as possible if he goes that way, but
that's not great.
It's not the shot. That was not the shot. I feel for the boys out there. This must be tough because of all the pressure in the world, and it's tough when you're in those pressure cooker environments and you're making some mistakes. So you just feel them tenfold. So it's just going to be who can keep it together the most here. So
we've got us two Muppets critiquing them as well.
To take this out, I'm going to stay sitting down. I'm not going to move a muscle until the black ball is in the hole this time. Come on, Desi.
Kill it nice. Kill it nice. Come on.
Does he come up short?
He is short.
Oh, wow.
That was tracking well too. It just didn't have the gas.
But
I don't think this cuts either. Jeez, he's going to have to.
It was the only way he could go wrong there was coming up short. You just had to give it a bit extra. Is it, if you load this with left, you can flick this in? Or is he just going to go for the ultra fine?
He's going for the cut. He's going for the cut. He got it!
That's well done. There's Wilcox.
He did to Baden what Baden did to Simon before.
There's the crowd. They can hear the crowd in the room as well now. I'll just do that.
Oh, what a brilliant final. Thank you very much, Desmond Wilcox and Baden Jackson, for that. That was spectacular. Desi, we thought we'd lost it there, but no, it came back to us. Yeah, Baden did a fantastic job of making that game as great as it could have been.
before everybody jumps in to congratulate the boys, we'll just have some prize giving out away.
So we've got some.
Very quickly, I'm not going to say too many words, there's too many different pieces of feedback, but we just want to say only a big thanks to the rest of the club who gave us a work convenience to set this thing up, and just thanks to all the other people who have made this happen. We'll thank them individually properly after the fact. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together again for your 2022 Super League National Champ, Des Wilcox.
Say something quickly. I still going to miss that black, but also I'd just like to say huge thanks to New Zealand Ball Promotions, Mike Hayes, our shows, Shaw, Daryl, all the guys behind the scenes done a great job putting this environment together, this tournament together. What a weekend it was, coming from 7-0 down to be winning the final, holding the trophy. Handballs played great, the players were awesome. Hard luck to you, Baden. Like, balls just didn't quite go your way. I'm sure if you got on the hill you would have easily got it the way I was crumbling. Still got scars on my neck. But massive thanks to everyone, all the support. It was so over the moon to get over the line, to be the first Kiwi to hold this.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday, Dad.
First proper Kiwi to win it. Here we go, nice and close. Yeah, big birthday play for us there, mate. Yeah.
Sweet as. Everybody, and just one last thing, we put our hands together for Baden Jackson.
Where's the team going to go?
I'll take Crash with me. You expect it, you should
Krusty said there's $2,000 on the bar.
Alright, so you heard from Des Wilcox there. Best birthday present we could have hoped for, to be honest, is to win this event, become the very first Kiwi-born player to win this event. I did mention that earlier in the final, but every other winner up until this point has been English-born, and I must say thank you to all of the English players who have helped with this, because you've made the Kiwi players better by teaching them how to play this game, and we do owe you an awful lot for that. But I mean, as a Kiwi, you just want your own to do well, and Des finally managing to do it, but would have been just as happy if Baden had won that, because holy crap did he give it his best. But in the end, Des came back from almost imploding, especially with the second to last frame, how he just crumbled under the pressure to be able to nail that one. Thank you very much also, Lee, for your kind words, and every one of you who watched, even for only a few minutes. We do this because you guys want to see it, we do this because you guys want to watch it. This doesn't get as good as it does without people watching, and you all for spending time out of your day, whichever day you were in, to watch the stream. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you also to everyone who commentated with me. I know there wasn't too many of you, but that was mostly because they were playing. Also all of the event organisers, New Zealand Ball Promotions, absolutely massive. It's a great product, it really is. This has been amazing all weekend and Friday, and on cue of course for these amazing tables that we're playing on, as well as for the streaming setup, because you know Daryl Chambers is an absolute boss. But yeah, obviously all of the sponsors that I mentioned earlier, and everybody else who does even anything small to make this better, and also to the Richmond Club for being such brilliant hosts of this event. Having to deal with the ladies' peers, the ladies' masters as well, and then you've got the juniors today, and then you've got this competition. They've managed to hold everything together brilliantly, and then you've got the bar staff and all of that, so yeah, amazing, all of it. So hope to see you all in 12 days time for the Champion of Champions. So you've got 16 of the very best players in New Zealand to play against each other. That will be at the Kashmir Club and streaming.